Timelessness and wordlessness we've explored in this section already. And as we begin to experience those as our reality in this world, something else becomes clear. And that is that this is also a path of selflessness. And so in this session, I want to explain just what that means and sit with you in this space of selflessness. Now, selflessness in our culture is often described as putting your own wishes aside, sacrificing something in order to assist someone else or to right some wrong or to even achieve some goal that's greater than you as an individual. And these qualities are quite fine, but this is not the selflessness I'm speaking of. I'm speaking of the experience of no self, which is our true experience. Now, if you close your eyes now with me and take your attention inside, you'll find, as we did earlier in the course, that there's no separate self that can be found within. If you keep attention there, just keep attention within, eyes closed, and leave thought alone for a moment. You can sense that within there's this vast emptiness, this vast empty space. Now, there's a great story from Zen of a guy by the name of Bodhidharma, who you can look up on Google. You probably won't spell it the way it's spelt, but you'll find the guy. And he allegedly brought Buddhism from India to China. True Buddhism, not scriptural, mind-based Buddhism, but practical Buddhism, the actual practice. And when he arrived, his reputation was that he was kind of a madman. So if you Google him and see pictures, you'll see that he's this scary looking dude with a big stick who looks like someone you wouldn't want to mess with. And the emperor in China at the time had been building all these buildings and spending all this money on building things for the Buddhist community there. And the monks, who were quite happy with this, and the priests were telling him that he was earning good karma and that he was going to get all this merit and that, his next incarnation would be happier or whatever. And they were just bribing him to buy stuff for them, really. And then they heard that this Bodhidharma was coming, who was allegedly an enlightened master. And so the emperor wanted to meet him. So the emperor went out to meet Bodhidharma, and the first thing that he said was, basically, I'm translating into modern English, but basically, hey, I've been doing all this great stuff. I've built these great communities and buildings, and I'm supporting the monks in their practice. What will I get for this? What sort of merit will I get? And Bodhidharma just said, no merit. Basically, you get nothing. So he's meeting with the emperor, you know. And in those days, I'm sure emperors weren't shy about, having people executed or imprisoned or tortured or whatever if they were insolent or didn't like them. But he just said, no, you get nothing. Why would you get anything for that? And the emperor was a bit annoyed and anyway continued the conversation. And the story goes that he then asked, what is the nature of holy reality? Which is something that he'd been asking the monks and getting these elaborate answers. And Bodhidharma just simply said, vast and clear, no holiness. Vast and clear, no holiness. Now, the reason that he was saying that, in my view, my definitely limited view, but my view still, is that he's trying to take away the falsehoods that this man was believing. And he's explaining the inner experience succinctly in a few words. And when we close our eyes and look inside, what is the nature of our experience? Vast and clear, no holiness. Why does he say no holiness? Because holiness is a concept, it's a judgment, an idea, and therefore it is a part of our self-concept, our false self, which could be that I am holy, or it could be that I am a sinner, I'm unworthy. And the storyteller, the mind, is happy with either of these because it doesn't care what stories keep you hooked as long as you're hooked. And so Bodhidharma is really saying to the emperor, just throw all that away. You've created this false self that's attached to merit, that's attached to this concept of holiness, and that's trying to achieve something. And so he's just cut the legs out from under that to say, hey, there's just vast clarity and there's nothing holy about it. No word can describe it. And there's no, this separate self that you're imagining is not real. It's not there in reality. It's just a mental construct. So a life of awareness, as well as being a life of timelessness and wordlessness, is a life of selflessness, but not in the conventional sense, but in the sense of living without this false self getting in the way, living as awareness. And so as we sit here and just look into this vast inner space, we don't need to do anything to get rid of the self or the self-concept. We can just sit here as awareness looking into space, and that's quite enough. Take a minute now to do today's written reflections. I know we're coming to the end of the course, but please continue with those. They'll help to just solidify the learnings and the unlearnings that are happening as we talk. And come back over the next couple of days. We've got 3 sessions left, because we're really getting into the lived practice of this. And this is really where the rubber hits the road in our practice and in our lives.